right, so welcome to the weekly homework information video for behavior modification step 2. So what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be continuing on with a previous behavior that we've been recording, and we're going to introduce new behavior. All right, so welcome to the weekly homework information video for behavior modification step 2. So what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be going over the two parts that are going to constitute this week's homework assignment. So part 1 is actually going to be the more simple part, and that is to keep doing something that you're already doing, which is Clockify. So we are going to continue on with our Clockify recording. So we're going to continue on with recording those 10 behaviors that you have been recording in the past week. And remember that we need 10 behaviors that you record the duration of. So how long have you been spending on each of those behaviors? And 6 of those behaviors need to be behaviors that you can either increase or you can decrease. So for example, I recommended that we all record how long we sleep. Sleep is something that we oftentimes very underestimate how long we're actually sleeping. So sleep is something that you can increase how long you sleep and you can decrease how long you sleep. So make sure that you're doing that, plus other behaviors where you can increase how long and decrease how long you spend time doing those behaviors. And then of course, the other 4 behaviors can be things that you cannot increase or decrease. So for example, if you want to record how long you spent at work, definitely that can be one of those other 4 behaviors. So make sure that you continue on with Clockify. And just one thing that I wanted to show, just in case some of you haven't discovered this already. So once you start establishing some of your behaviors, when you go to what you're working on, it will actually pop down in this little drop-down menu some of those behaviors. So because these behaviors are things that you're going to be doing often, and you're going to repeat doing them over and over and over again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to retype them in. You can just click attending class when you're attending class, and it'll start recording. And in that way, it'll kind of streamline your recording sessions. The other thing that I would recommend is I use Clockify on my phone, and I add a link to the Clockify website on my homepage. So I have a link right there on the homepage, and anytime I do anything that I'm trying to track, I will simply click on that link. It'll take me to Clockify. I'll enter in my information, set my phone aside, and do my behavior. So try to make this as straightforward as possible so that we can get very accurate pictures of how long you are spending on those 10 behaviors. So that is part 1 of this homework assignment. Make sure that you are continuing on with the recording of those 10 behaviors. And before we leave part 1, I will just say that if you decided that you did not want to record one of the behaviors that you have already begun recording. So for example, maybe you picked up a new hobby and you thought to yourself, man, I really want to record how long I'm spending on this new hobby. Feel free to change the behaviors that you are recording. So sometimes you'll try something and it just won't work. So feel free to modify that recording behavior so that it is effective and efficient for you, so that it's something that you're extremely interested in, and continue on recording those 10 behaviors. So we are looking for a nice long run of recording so we can find a stabilized baseline level of behavior. But it is still very early in our recording of these behaviors. So feel free to change them out if you found out that you're just not interested in some of the behaviors that you have been recording, or if you want to record additional behaviors. And also, you can always go above the 10 behaviors. That's just our minimum, but feel free to go as high as you like based on the type of behaviors you have in your life that you want to record. All right, so that is part 1. Continue on with Clockify. Part 2 is going to be mindfulness training. And for mindfulness training, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing this behavior called Find Your Flashlight. So it's a training technique called Find Your Flashlight. And this is one of the behaviors that I have chosen for us to modify. And I've specifically chosen this because of its benefits for students in an academic setting. So this has been studied, has been researched. There is psychological research evidence that mindfulness training improves outcomes in students in academic settings, especially during stressful times. So I introduced this last semester in my P241 class. So this will be somewhat familiar for students that took that class. However, I was kicking myself because I introduced it late in the semester, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. So we're introducing it early this time so we can reap the maximum benefits of modification of this behavior. Now, there are steps to do for this mindfulness training, and I can think of nobody better to explain this than the person who did the research that did develop this technique, Dr. Amisha Jha.
So this is like a basic mindfulness practice, and I call it, again, tied to what we're talking about in the book and attention, the find your flashlight practice.
Great.
Because oftentimes it's not that we can't focus, it's that we don't know where we're focusing at any moment.
That's true.
So the instruction would be, and I guide people to kind of ramp up to about 12 minutes a day that our data suggests is beneficial to do this, but to start out, like, do 30 seconds of this, commit to that for a few weeks and see how that goes. So the practice is essentially find a quiet, comfortable spot and take this time seriously, even if it's 30 seconds or a minute. Sit in an upright, alert posture, like a dignified, if we do it now, it's just like upright, alert, dignified. And first step is just acknowledge, notice, shine the floodlight on your experience that you're breathing right now. Then what you're going to do is hone in on something that actually you notice is prominent in your experience of breathing. So do you notice anything that feels prominent, like the coolness of air maybe by your nose or maybe your chest?
It's actually the sound I'm making.
Okay,
nasally.
great.
Yes.
Yeah, the sound, that's a great one too. That's where you're going to point the flashlight. That's your attentional target for this short practice. So direct that flashlight right there. Keep it steady. You can close your eyes if you want to, whatever you choose, just to limit the sensory input. And if it hasn't happened yet, it surely will. Your mind will wander. And all you do in that moment is notice it. Ah, the mind has wandered away. Next step, take that flashlight, redirect it back to that same attentional target. And repeat. So it's essentially focus, point that flashlight, notice, use the floodlight, redirect. Get the juggler to do its job.
Oh my goodness. You know, can I ask about that?
Yeah, please.
When I first started this, there was like a judgment when I drift away.
Oh no, it's a total win.
But
it's a win moment.
It's actually a win because it gives us a chance to redirect the flashlight, right? This is so important because I used to, I don't know, maybe you're further along than me, but in the beginning I was like, gosh, man, I'm gone this for like 24 seconds and then I'm out. But you're actually saying that's actually a gift when we drift away because it allows us to build this flashlight, I'll call it a muscle, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we're coming back. That's really good.
But now I hope it makes sense why I wanted to describe those three systems, because we hit all three in this.
It does.
And I think it's really important to not think of the wandering as a problem. The wandering, remember we started out talking about,
right.
50% of the time, it's the nature of the mind. I didn't say, Ed, if you happen to be one of those weird people with mind wanders, like us normal people don't have that, you have mind wandering. I didn't say that. I said, when your mind wanders, because it's going to wander, for sure. Just bring it back. And not doing that with the added story, the added reactivity is so important.
All right, so that is the mindfulness training that we're going to be doing. Again, it's that find your flashlight training. So what are the requirements for part 2 of this step 2 behavior modification homework? Well, the requirements for the mindfulness training are as follows. First off, we're going to start at a very doable level. We're going to start at a level that everybody can succeed at, and that is 3 minutes minimum. So the first requirement is that you practice this mindfulness training for 3 minutes minimum. And I suggest that you time this using Clockify. So let's add another behavior to this recording device that we're using. So we're going to time this using Clockify, and we want 3 minutes minimum. Now, one thing that I recommend while you're doing this is set a countdown timer on your phone. This is the technique I like to use. I set a countdown timer on my phone, but set it for slightly more than the minimum that you're trying to achieve. So for example, now you might set it to 5 minutes. And what that does is you set that timer. When you begin, you just click on your countdown timer, you set your phone aside, and then you start your mindfulness training. And at some point, you're going to get a little bit restless. At some point, you're going to feel that urge, like, I'm getting a little bit fatigued. My attention is getting a little bit tired out. And you're going to want to look at your phone. You're going to think to yourself, oh my gosh, it's got to have been 3 minutes by now. At that point, take a look at your phone. And if it's less than 3 minutes, if you see that it's just a minute and a half at that point, then you go back to your mindfulness training. You close your eyes again, you find your flashlight, you focus on, for example, your breathing, and you continue going on. However, if you look at your phone and it's past the 3 minute mark, say it's 3.5 minutes, then you've completed your requirements and you can end your training session. And definitely, if the alarm goes off, then you have completed your requirements and you can end your training session. So it's just a nice way to make sure that we're not just meeting that minimum requirement, and we're actually training our mind in a way that is beneficial for improving our mindfulness. Now, the second thing that I want you to do that wasn't mentioned in the video, but the second thing I want you to do is I want you to record the total time per day that we are doing this. So you might do this in 2 sessions. You might do more than 3 minutes, for example. Or you might say, you know what, I only got 2 minutes this time and I really have to, go do something else for whatever minute, for whatever reason, you can't get that last minute. If you do this across multiple sessions, we're recording the entire time for the day. So record your total time per day. All right. So to help you do that, I have created the following Excel sheet. You can download this from Canvas. And what you're going to do is for each session that you do per day. So you might do 1 session. You might absolutely love this behavior and do 20 sessions. You can go up to 20 sessions. But whatever amount you're doing, what you want to do is you want to enter in the total time in seconds that you have done this behavior. So let's say that you do it for 3 minutes and 9 seconds, you would enter that in there. And you'll notice that down here, it says what your total time is. So this is for individuals that are doing multiple sessions. So let's say that your next one is 230 seconds. You can see that it updates your time for the day to 419 seconds. What you would then do is you would take that 419 and you would go to daily scores over here. And the daily scores, this is going to record our entire semester. So the first thing that I want you to do is do not change these dates. It doesn't matter when you start. It doesn't matter what time of the semester it is. Do not change that date because we want to start on the day that the semester began, January 9th. We're going to end on the day the semester ends, April 30th in this case for our class. And you can see that the times before we have begun this are already kind of X'd out. So we're going to begin, the earliest you would begin this, I would imagine, would be January 23rd. And we are going to enter in our total time into this January 23rd. So we entered in 419 here. And if you don't want to do math, I've also included this handy dandy minutes to second converter. So when you get your Clockify score, if you have done it for 3 minutes and 23 seconds, this will automatically calculate the total time in seconds that you have done. And then you can enter that in up here. So if you're like, oh yeah, I did 3 sessions today and I did 203 seconds for that third one. Now we got a time of 622. So we're going to enter that in. Let's enter that in right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to enter this in day after day after day. So we did 622, let's say on the first day. Next day, we did 240. The day after that, let's say we did 300 seconds. The day after that, we skip. On the 27th, we do 450 seconds. Whatever the amounts are, we're going to enter it there. And then also, you're going to see that we have a graph here that is going to track visually, and we're going to talk about visual analysis in a little bit, but it's going to track visually how you're doing in your behavior. So that is how we're going to use this Excel sheet to kind of track this specific behavior, put it in a format where we can take a look at it and very easily say how we're doing in our mindfulness training. However, you might have noticed this little thing here that says volume, and that is the final thing that I want us to do for this mindfulness training, and that is to have some sort of background noise playing while you're doing your mindfulness training. So I play this off of my phone. I go to my music streaming service and I find myself some gray noise that I can just loop and play. Whatever your source is, whatever background noise you want to use, whatever helps you concentrate or focus and do this mindfulness training, that's what I would suggest. But importantly, you're going to play that background noise. You're going to choose one. You're going to stick to it, and you're going to play it at a very specific volume. So the background noise can be of your choosing. The volume that you play it at can be of your choosing, but just choose a specific volume and then record what that volume is. So for example, if you're playing it off your computer, you might say, all right, I set my volume on my computer to 60%. And the next day, I set it to 60%. And the next day, I set it to 60%. So we're not going to mess with the volume. We're going to choose a volume that you can decide on, whatever you think is most beneficial. But we do want to, two things: keep that volume until we start to modify that volume, and we'll see exactly what we're doing in a future step in this behavior modification program. But also choose a volume that you can decrease. So let's not start at a volume of like 10 where it would be very difficult to go down. We're going to start at a volume that you can decrease in the future, and kind of spoiler alert, we're going to try to decrease it in the future. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be recording our daily session length in seconds. And again, we have your session totaler here and your minute to second converter here to help you do that. Remember to record this on Clockify as well. Let's continue to practice that behavior of recording, which is immensely important in behavior modification. And then we enter it into our daily scores, as well as the volume of the background noise that you're using. And we are looking for 5 out of 7 days for this particular behavior. All right, so once you have completed your 5 out of the 7 days, what you're going to do is you're going to save this Excel sheet, and you are going to upload that Excel sheet to the homework assignment behavior modification step 2. So part one, you're going to, or not part one. So one upload is going to be your mindfulness training Excel sheet. So that is going to be one of the things that you are going to upload. The second file that you're going to upload is going to be your Clockify file. Now for this one, we are once again going to go to a detailed export. So we go here to reports, and we are going to go to detailed reports. However, this time it's going to be just one more step that we're going to need to do. So when you go to your detailed reports, you will notice here we have the detailed report for this week. So that is not going to be enough this time for Clockify. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to choose the range for how long this assignment is for. So in this case, we're going from January 9th. That is when, actually, no, that wouldn't be it. We're going to go from January 16th. That is when we began recording on Clockify. And then we're going to go all the way to January 30th. That is when this assignment is due. And then that is going to give us our export data. That's going to give us our data range. And then we are going to go to export. We're going to save it as Excel. And then that Excel sheet is going to be the second thing that you upload to complete your homework assignment. So we're looking for 2 uploads. We're looking for your Excel sheet, detailed report, January 16th to January 30th, for your Clockify recording of your behavior. And then we are also looking for that weekly homework step 2 mindfulness training Excel sheet filled in with at least 5 out of 7 days, where you record both the duration that you engaged in that mindfulness training per day, as well as the volume of your background noise per day. All right, so that is it for the weekly homework assignment informational video for behavior modification step 2. So again, make sure that you continue going on with Clockify, introduce that mindfulness training, record your Clockify behaviors and export them and upload that for part 1 of your homework assignment, and then record your mindfulness training in that Excel sheet and upload that Excel sheet for part 2 of your mindfulness training. And I am extremely excited about this one because the benefits that can be developed from this mindfulness training are just huge, especially during exam season, especially during the times when you have many assignments due across many different classes. So just imagine the ability to focus, have super focus, have improved focus during those most stressful times. And hopefully that'll motivate you and get you to buy fully into this idea of this mindfulness training. So again, I can't wait to see the benefits of this. I can't wait to see how people are doing on their mindfulness training and their Clockify tracking. But that is it for today's homework informational video. So until next time, track your behavior. Let's start some mindfulness training. Stay frosty and go modify some behavior. But we're going to record the total time per day. So to help you do that, oh no, I had the wrong thing. It was good. It was good. And now it's, I don't know when I went to that. So let's back to the beginning. All right. Well, I guess all things happen for a reason. Let me get my light to where I usually have it. Oh my gosh. All right. So literally, I didn't check to see what was being shown in the in that thing. So I think I recorded probably like 20 minutes, and we're gonna do it again. So let this be a little bit of inspiration. Sometimes you mess up, and you just go back to the beginning, and that's what we're gonna be doing. Back to the beginning.